welcome back. This is your old pal Hondo doing another video for you fine folks on another Zebco. This Zebco this time is going to be the 600 series of reels, which was made from 1969 all the way to the 80s. We're working on an original Zebco 600. They also made them in a 606 and a 66 version in the 70s, which were all metal reels. They didn't have very much plastic on them. They were made in America, and they were just tough all around. They didn't have any ball bearings or anything like that. I'm going to show you what the reel looks like and show you how to service this old reel and maybe fix a few problems down the road that this reel always kind of has from a collector standpoint. I'll show you what it looks like in the common problems of this reel. Okay, this is 1969/1970s Zebco 600. They also made this in a 606 and a 66 Scotty. This is pretty not very rare, but you know they're not very common. Now this model here has a 3-stage drag system, where it has a silent mode, or the top silent mode, which is the anti-reverse. It goes back and forth like that. The middle anti-reverse setting is a clicking type of drag. It's the same thing, but then the third mode is clicking, and it should click whenever it but it's not, for some reason it's not engaging the clicking for the bait runner. But on the standard reel mode, where it locks up, it makes a clicking noise. It's kind of irritating, but it does need to be cleaned. The first thing you want to do is set the drag to its lowest setting, so you can take the pin out of off the spool whenever you pull this apart. The first thing you want to do is get a flathead screwdriver, and there's a little nut right here on the top for the cover release. It's like this on a lot of the older reels from Zebco. You just loosen it up a little bit. You don't have to loosen it all the way, just enough to take the top cover off, like so, and the bottom cover off, like so. You don't have to clean these. These are not too dirty. Now the common problem with these old 606s and 66 from back in the day is that the little line breaks right here, the little rubberized line breaks, will crack and get brittle and dry rot over time, and they fall off. So right now I did a temporary fix, which I used some Gorilla Glue and dampened it and stuck it back on there together. It's not very pretty, but it works. It'll work for a while, at least until I can get an O-ring from Harbor Freight, or a rubber O-ring to put on there. If you want a video on learn how to do that with the 600 series of Zebco, I recommend you to go watch Out Fishing 13's video on his 600 series of reels, where he shows how to glue one of those little rubber O-rings on top of there. But you could just re-glue that one back on. It may not last that long, but it'll be lasting you long enough so you can take it out fishing for a while, at least until you can get a new rubber O-ring. You basically just jigsaw the pieces back together and glue them and let it sit for a while, and it should fix it temporarily. Now this, unlike the 33, didn't have the break in between the spool and the spinner cone. This one had the break where you push the button and it pushed it up against the frame. This really was ahead of its time. Later on in the late 80s, the 33s and a lot of the 202s would adopt this very design with one pickup pin, and the line brake being on top. So this was a revolutionary design. After we took the cover and the rear cover off, you want to take the flathead screwdriver again, hold the frame down, and then winch the nut off. You don't want to use a wrench for this because you may damage that rubber seal again if you fixed it. So a flathead screwdriver will work. Take that off, and right here is the pin that holds the spool in place. You have to remove that to remove the rear of the gears and to clean them. This right here is the drag knob, and this here is the anti-reverse switch. So you want to take your flathead screwdriver and remove the pin. Just get that flathead screwdriver in there, remove the pin, and then the spool should be easily accessed and removed as well. We have to clean that up too. And right here's the drag. Right here, it's a little block that braces the bottom of the spool here, which tightens it and loosens the drag up. It's like a little block and a spring right there. That has to be cleaned with a toothbrush as well. This whole body has to be cleaned with a toothbrush. You can remove the gears now. Once you get it to this point, you can take a wrench, size 8 wrench, right here, size 8. You hold the handle down and you just winch the nut off like so until you get it loose enough to take it off by hand. And once you get it loose enough to take off by hand, you just, there you go, that's unscrewed. And once you get that out, you can remove the pinion gear now at this point. Should come right out. Right here is the anti-reverse switch mechanism. This is how it works. It pushes the little anti-reverse switch clicker to engage it, so it'll click whenever you use it as a bait runner, and engage it to the normal reeling part of the reel. This will have to all be cleaned with 409. You cannot take these parts off. They're permanently affixed, and whoever had it last overly lubed it. It's just a nightmare. At this point, you could remove this if you can get it out, which might not be able to get it out, but there it goes. It comes right out. There's a little sleeve in here, that little metal sleeve. I don't know if I can get it out or not, but basically that's all you need to take out to maintenance it. Alright, once you get it to this point, you can stick this body in the tub right here with the pinion gear, and this too if you wanted to clean it with the toothbrush. Just clean it all out with a toothbrush. And the main gear here, you put that in there and just spray it down with some kind of like degreaser or something. Spray it down real good, the whole thing. This stuff will eat all the grease out of it. And just spray everything down real good. Give it a nice little generous spray down, and I'll get back to you, and then we'll take the toothbrush to it and we'll get back to you when it's all clean. Okay, now we're done cleaning the parts with a toothbrush, and we used a couple Q-tips to get into the hole here and here when we sprayed it down with 409. After you get these parts clean with the toothbrush, by brushing this part, the handle, this out, rinse it out with water once you're done cleaning it with the 409, and dry it off with a paper towel until all the parts are nice and dry. And now we're ready to re-lubricate this reel so it will function properly. Also too, if you got a little bit of dirt in here as well, you could just wipe it out with a rag. It doesn't really matter. Wipe out the spinner cone cover right here just a little bit to get any dirt or excess gunk out of here so it doesn't impede the action of the reel if you're wanting to use this. And now that we have it disassembled, we're ready to reassemble this reel. Okay, I'm just making sure we got all the parts here. Okay, now we're going to re-lube the reel with some bearing grease and the spinner cone with some petroleum jelly, which is Vaseline. The gears get this because it's a high maintenance gears. You need a really thick type of grease for that, and you don't really need much grease. We're going to open this up and grease the parts down. I'm going to show you how to do it. If you ain't got a paintbrush, you could just use your finger like so. Just grease this shaft right here just a little bit, and then push some of that bearing grease in the gear clog right there. Just one a little bit, you don't need much, just enough to get in there like that, and that's basically all the grease you need right there for that piece. Second gear, which is the wheel gear, gets a little bit of grease on the teeth. You just want to push the grease in the teeth. That's basically all the grease you really need to put on this right there in them teeth like that, and then you pull it over on the other side, and you want to put a little bit of grease on the shaft here, what's left on your finger, or the excess on your finger, just a little bit more maybe, to put on there as well. And when you do that, we're going to put a little bit of oil too on that, just to give it a little bit more of a slippery surface here as well. Put the oil on the back of the rear, grease of the reel, gear wheel there, And basically we want to put some grease in here too, just along the ramp where this drag brake goes. And the way you want to do that is you want to push it to the very forward highest setting on the brake, and you just push it as far as it'll go up. Take a Q-tip like so and just dip it in there like this. Well, we'll use the other side. And just like coat one side and coat the other side right there, and that's basically all you need to do. And maybe just push it through that hole a little bit, put some more grease through that hole, and put some grease through this hole as well, all the way through, pull it out, and there you go. That's all the grease you need to put on that. Now we can oil the rest of the other parts with oil. We're going to use oil to basically oil this down right here, oil this, and everything else gets oil on any moving parts right here underneath that gets it, this gets it over here on top of that. This little part right here gets some oil. On top of that gets some oil over here, and a little bit on the rails here as well. We'll put a little bit of oil on that, and down the hole a little bit, and over here on the hole, and on the other side of this reel spring, and that's and a little bit on the screw itself that holds the frame together. And that's it. Now we're going to reassemble the reel, and that's all the grease and everything we needed to use on this reel so far. Now the first thing you want to return is the wheel gear through that hole. This with no issue. Okay, it goes right in there like so. And now we return the pinion gear right in the center with the wheel gear. Now that's done. We're done greasing this reel up. This is enough grease and oil to last it years. And now we're going to lube the spool and make sure that gear runs good. If it doesn't, you're going to have to wedge it in there until it moves like so. So it's moving now. You got to hold that pinion gear when you're greasing the front up with Vaseline. Take a good generous portion of Vaseline on your finger and just rub it on the top of the reel here, around the center of the reel here as well. So return it like that. You want to grab that spool and just get some more grease and just, you know, get the back end with the big round loop on it, and just, I'm going to put too much on there, but basically that's all you really need. This helps lubricate this so it makes the drag work fairly easy. And we'll just return, it has to go back on the reel with that round end first on top like that for it to go back on top of it. And now that we have it on top, we're going to loosen up the gears, loose as it'll go, so we could return the pin, or the retaining pin goes back in. And we're going to need like a little tool to help it on its way here. Where's my, okay, this will work right here. Be careful though, this pig will fly across the room, and that's what exactly it did. Okay, had to hunt down the pin. It flew clear across the room as usual. Just remember, that can happen sometimes, so try to hold on to the pin. The retaining pin should go like right back in there, and there it goes. Now we have the return of the pin, so make sure you keep your hand on that bottom pinion gear at all times until you return this spinner cone back on top and tighten it up. It should go right on top of there. It's so dang slick, I'm trying to hold on to it. And try to wedge that spinner cone back on, which it went on, and it's not on all the way for some reason. And we'll return the small screw in here as well. And when you do that, you have to hold on to the frame of the reel and tighten it down with a flathead screwdriver right on top of there, and tighten it up. You don't want it too tight, but that should do it. Make sure that pickup pin flies out whenever you do that. Now we put the rear of the cover on here, which is a little tricky, but not undoable. There, it finally went on. Finally got it on. That's one of the toughest parts about putting this reel back together. And you put the front cover back on. It goes on really easy. Once you do that, you can tighten this up. Once you tighten it up, we're done. And we'll put the handle on it and we'll be done here. And that's tight. We got the screw back tight, and put a little bit of oil on the handle here so it, you know, won't rust as bad. Maybe put a little bit of oil, a drop of oil in each one of these little handle crank holes, and that helps it from squeaking, I guess. Oh man, keeps it from squeaking. And you just want to make sure it works. And take a rag and just wipe all the excess oil off of it, and that should be good enough. And we'll put the handle crank back on with the nut. Okay, it's tight enough. And wipe the excess grease off of the reel. If there's any grease that you left behind from your hands, wipe your hands off. You know, wipe all the excess crud off of it, of the reel, which any of the grease that you leave behind, you wipe off. It kind of coats the reel. And yeah, there you go. That's how you maintenance a 1969 Zebco 600 from start to finish. Now it's reeling really well. It's actually a lot smoother than it was. And try it on the other settings. Look at that. It's just smooth. It's the way it was when it was brand new. When you know how to service a reel, it's working like it was brand new. Click it, and it's making that pop and click noise. That means you did a good job cleaning it, and it's like brand new. I'm going to slap some 12-pound tests on this and use it for catfishing. Alright folks, if you like this video on a maintenance on this old Zebco 600 reel, and if you got one laying around that was your granddaddy's or your daddy's, and you want to clean it so you could use it, and this reel will last you another 50 years because it was an all metal reel. It's just a dandy of a little reel. I mean, they're great. They're in that whole long line of all steel Scotty reels, 66 Scotty reels. This is a 600, really well made reel. It's like brand new now. If y'all like this video on a how to maintenance a 600, Zebco 600, this also will work for the 606 and the 66 as well. If you like this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. And y'all know what you can do. You put God first, He puts you first. And you know what else? God loves you, so does Hondo. Peace out. YouTube.
Tell me pretty lies.